Let's talk about Pride Month. If you've been around on the internet for a while, you've probably seen various brands change their logos to a rainbow instead of their usual colors during June, or maybe some news channels reporting on some festivals going on at some point during the month. This, as we all know, is Pride Month, a month dedicated to the history of LGBT individuals, that is, lesbian, gay, bisexual, and transgender, etc., and is a time for anyone in the community to rejoice and celebrate. But why do we celebrate this? Why does this community get a month and a parade dedicated to them? Well, that's what I'm here to explain, so get out your pen and paper. Or don't. I really can't control you. But on to our first topic, a history lesson. If you've been an ally, someone who supports the community openly, for some time now, or are part of the community, there's a good chance you've heard the phrase, the first Pride was a riot. This is, essentially, the truth. The reason Pride Month happens in June is because of the Stonewall Riots, which happened on June 28th, 1969. Before we get into anything about Stonewall, however, there are some basic facts we need to cover that explain why what happened, and things that led up to the riot. Prior to Stonewall, the gay community was treated very, very poorly, as one can imagine. The first gay rights group to be documented in the United States was the Society for Human Rights, or the SHR in short. The group was founded in 1924 by Henry Gerber, but only disbanded in 1925 due to continuous police raids. Luckily, however, they did manage to get several issues of their newsletter, Friendship and Freedom, out before this. In similar stride, the Daughters of Bilitis were the first American lesbians' rights group, founded in September of 1955. In 1966, it was common practice for individuals to outwardly declare their sexuality at bars, dare bartenders to turn them away for it, and then sue if they were, and these were dubbed sip-ins. This was a supported action, with the Commission for Human Rights ruling that gay patrons had a right to being served. On a similar note, in 1966, the Stonewall Inn was one of many gay bars to suffer from continuous police raids and harassment until the New York State Liquor Authority, because of course that's a thing, penalized and shut down clubs serving liquor to known or suspected LGBT patrons, suggesting the fact that a gathering of the gays was disorderly. However, the act was overturned in the year of the legendary sip-ins, and gay customers could once again be served alcoholic beverages. Regardless of the returned legality, however, many of the bars remained operating without a liquor license, partly due to the fact that they were operated by the mafia.
Now, we don't have time to unpack all of that!
The reason the crime leaders in the state operated these bars and clubs is because they saw profit in tending to the shunned and shamed community, and thus bribed the cops of the state, well, most anyway, to turn a blind eye to what occurred inside. In the Greenwich Village area, most of the bars there were owned and operated by the Genovese family in the mid-1960s. In order to get away with not having a liquor license, Stonewall Inn was marked as a bottle bar, where individuals brought their own liquor into the club. To maintain a false image of being an exclusive club, customers had to sign their names into a book upon entry. To get away with all of this, the Genovese family bribed New York's 6th Police Precinct to ignore the activities occurring inside. Stonewall Inn quickly became notable as one of Greenwich's most important gay clubs, due to it being relatively cheap to enter, having a welcoming stance on drag queens, and was one of very few, if not the only club that allowed dancing. The club also served as a home for the homeless gay youth and runaways. However, the club of course had downsides. It lacked fire exits, it wasn't very clean, and was relatively hazardous. And this was to cut costs. There are also reported events of the mafia blackmailing the wealthier patrons in order to keep their sexuality a secret. While these police raids still occurred, the corrupt cops tipped off the mafia-run bars beforehand, giving them the time to stash anything that could even be seen as incriminating. On the morning of July 28, 1969, however, this wasn't the truth. The bar hadn't been made aware of the incoming raid and were extremely surprised by it. The police officers raided the club, finding the bootlegged alcohol and thus arresting 13 people, employees and people violating the state's gender-appropriate clothing statute, because of course that's a thing. And female officers would take suspects into the bathroom to check their sex. You might be thinking, well, this wasn't as bad as it could have been. That's just the tip of the iceberg here. Throughout the initial raid, police officers battered and harassed any individual they could get in reach. The police grew more and more aggressive as the crowd grew more and more angry with their constant discrimination. Within minutes, neighbors and patrons barricaded themselves around the club, refusing to disperse and separate as the police had wished. The crowd continued to grow, the club now attempted to be set on fire by the mafia, and police, some prisoners, and a local newspaper reporter had barricaded themselves inside of the club. Once the fire department and a riot squad arrived on the scene, however, the initial riot had been forced to die down. But in the following 5 days, the riots continued and flared up after the local newspaper, Village Voice, wrote their articles about it. That is why Pride Month occurs in June, in tribute to the Stonewall riots and the events before. Now that that's been answered, let's move on to another question I see quite often. Why the rainbow? This question has a much simpler answer in comparison. In 1978, openly gay artist and drag queen Gilbert Baker created the first symbol of the Pride movement, the rainbow flag. Baker drew the colors from the sky since they were naturally occurring colors, just as the community were naturally occurring individuals. He chose 8 initial colors, each with special meanings. Hot pink, for sex, red, for life, orange, for healing, yellow, for sunlight, green, for nature, turquoise, for art, indigo, for harmony, and violet, for spirit. These colors might not look as familiar to today's flag. The pink and turquoise were cut due to fabric shortages, and the indigo was swapped for basic blue, and this translated into today's commonly seen flag. The rainbow flag was only officially made as the symbol for Pride in 1994, in which a mile-long Pride flag to celebrate the 25th anniversary of Stonewall was flown. I expect more lingering questions, but that just about covers the history of Pride Month. The biggest questions I expect now are why is this still needed? Or why isn't there something for straight people?